When I lost my baby, my sister stole my baby name and due date, then threw a party acting like it was some sweet tribute. So I showed up to her baby shower with a gift so personal she couldn't even open it in front of her guests. I was standing in the doorway of my sister's rented event hall in Tempe, Arizona, staring at a giant pink banner that read "Welcome Baby Leela, due 11/7," the exact name, the exact due date, the exact shade of rose I had picked out when I still thought I'd get to meet my daughter. People were laughing, hugging my sister, taking pictures like this was normal. Like she hadn't just hijacked the most painful part of my life and turned it into her own Pinterest-perfect moment. I swear, for a second, the room tilted. I felt this cold, sharp pressure in my chest, like my ribs were trying to fold in on themselves. No one noticed me standing there. Not even my mom, who was fussing with the cupcake tower that had little sugar toppers shaped like the name Leela. My daughter's name. My dead daughter's name. My sister, Megan, stood in the center of it all. 8 months pregnant, glowing like she was eating the attention for breakfast. She was telling the story, my story, to a circle of her friends. I could hear her voice floating over the music. She always loved the name, she said in this soft, wounded tone, like she was the one who had gone through it. And after everything that happened, I just felt like honoring her. You know, the women around her cooed and touched her belly like she was some saint of healing and empathy. I felt something burn low and steady in my stomach. Not rage, exactly. Not grief. Something colder. Something that made me breathe slower. I tightened my grip on the gift bag in my hand, the one that had cost me more tears than money, and started walking into the room. My boots made this sharp sound on the polished floor. That's when people finally turned. Conversations hiccuped. My mom's face froze like she'd seen a ghost. Megan looked up and her smile faltered just a little. Not guilt, just irritation. Like I had shown up wearing the wrong dress code. "Oh," she said, "you came." I looked at her belly. The bump that held a baby she'd decided to rename with zero warning. The same baby she planned to deliver on my due date, or at least announce as if she was. "Yeah," I said. "I came," someone whispered. "Isn't this awkward?" But no one actually moved to leave. People love a train wreck, even when they pretend they're above it. Megan stepped toward me with that tight smile she uses when she wants to look like the bigger person. "I know this is emotional for you," she said softly, "but this is supposed to be a happy day. For the baby," I could barely hear her over the thumping in my ears. "For the baby," I repeated. She nodded like she thought we were on the same page. "Good, so let's just keep things positive, okay? We don't need any scenes." A few guests shifted uncomfortably. I held out the gift bag. Her eyes flicked to it. She looked confused, then wary. "What is that?" "A present," I said. "For the shower." She hesitated. "I'll open it later." "No," I said, stepping closer. "You'll want to open this now." The room went silent, tighter than a held breath. Megan's face twitched, and for the first time she looked nervous. Really nervous. "Open it," I repeated, my voice low and steady. She reached for the handles with shaking fingers. And that's when the first guest, some friend of hers from her yoga studio, actually gasped out loud as if she understood something before Megan did. Megan looked into the bag, her whole face drained. It was like watching someone's soul step back from their skin. And then she whispered, barely audible, "What the hell is this?" I smiled. "Go on," I said. "Show everyone." She didn't move. She couldn't, because what she was holding was the one thing she could never explain, and the one thing she never expected me to have. I guess none of this will make sense unless I rewind to last year, before everything fell apart, before Megan turned my grief into her weird little spotlight moment. I was 28, living in a small apartment in downtown Tempe with my boyfriend, Andrew. We weren't perfect, but we were steady enough that when I found out I was pregnant, it felt like the first real good news I'd had in years. We cried together the day I told him. Happy tears, shocked tears, the kind that make your cheeks feel hot. We picked the name Leela almost immediately. I'd been obsessed with it since I was 12. Soft, simple, warm. Andrew said it felt like the name of someone gentle. I wrote it in my planner. He put it in his phone wallpaper. We started saying it out loud every night before bed. It made the whole thing feel real. My due date was November 7th. I circled it in gold marker. Megan knew all of this. She was the first person I told after Andrew. She hugged me so tight her perfume stuck to my clothes for a whole day. She even cried a little, which shocked me because Megan never cries unless someone's watching. She took me shopping for maternity clothes. She sent me Pinterest boards of nursery ideas. She asked me almost every day how I was feeling. Back then, she seemed excited for me. I didn't know she was pregnant too. I didn't know she had been trying for months. I didn't know her marriage was cracking around the edges, and she thought a baby might glue it back together. She didn't tell me any of that until later. Much later. The miscarriage hit me like a truck I never saw coming. I was around 13 weeks. One minute I was fine, the next I was in a bathroom stall at work at Arizona State, bleeding so fast I thought I was going to pass out. I remember the smell of the floor cleaner, the way my phone screen blurred while I tried to call Andrew, the ER nurse who told me gently, too gently, "I'm sorry, honey, there's no heartbeat." I don't remember going home. I don't remember sleeping. I just remember waking up every morning feeling like my body had betrayed me. The name, Leela, was everywhere in the apartment, and at the same time, nowhere at all. Andrew and I could barely speak to each other without crying. He really tried, but we were drowning separately. And Megan, God, Megan, she was there at first. She brought soup I didn't eat and blankets I didn't need. She sat next to me and patted my knee like a guidance counselor. And then slowly, she got off. Like she wanted to be supportive but also wanted attention for being supportive. She'd post things like, "Sending love to those dealing with unimaginable pain today, 2 hearts," and tag no one, but everyone knew. She'd tell people I was struggling in this tone that made her sound like she was running a charity. I chalked it up to her being awkward with emotions. She's always liked applause more than intimacy. It wasn't until 2 months later, at a family dinner at our parents' house in Chandler, that she announced she was pregnant. Everyone gasped and clapped, and I sat there praying to God it wasn't what I feared. But then she said it. "We're naming her Leela." My fork slipped out of my hand. The room blurred. My mom froze. Andrew squeezed my knee so hard his hand shook. I said nothing. I couldn't. And then she added, casual as hell, "And the due date is November 7th. Isn't that crazy?" I left the table. I threw up in the hall bathroom. No one followed me, and Megan just kept talking. That was the moment something in me changed. Something got cold, because that wasn't coincidence. That wasn't sweet. That wasn't tribute. It was something else entirely. And I didn't understand the whole truth until much later. After that dinner, everyone acted like I was supposed to process my feelings and then move on, but I couldn't shake the sick feeling in my stomach. Something about the way Megan said it, like she was casually borrowing a sweater of mine, not the name of the child I never got to meet, kept replaying in my head. For a while, I tried to convince myself I was overreacting. Grief makes you paranoid. Grief makes you sensitive. That's what everyone said, anyway. Even Andrew tried to get me to talk it out. But the way he said it felt more like he was scared I was going to break down in public again. It didn't help that Megan kept doubling down. Within a week, she posted a gender reveal photo on Instagram with a caption that made my teeth clench. "Baby Leela coming 11/7. Some names are just meant to live on." Meant to live on? She didn't ask. She didn't call. She didn't even text. She just claimed it like she owned it. Then the nursery photos came. The tiny pink onesies embroidered with the name. The baby socks lined up like props. She posted a picture of her ultrasound taped onto a baby book titled Leela's First Year. She wrote things like, "Sometimes the universe gives you signs," and honoring what was lost by celebrating new life. People commented things like, "What a beautiful thing you're doing, and you're such a good sister." Every time I saw it, my throat closed up. I felt like the whole world was patting her back while I was being erased. I unfollowed her. She noticed within minutes. She sent me a long text about how grief shouldn't turn you bitter, and how this isn't about you, it's about healing. I stared at it for a long time before finally putting my phone down and walking away. The next morning, she showed up at my apartment unannounced, holding a bag of baby clothes like she was offering peace in the form of tiny socks. Andrew wasn't home. It was just me and her, standing in the doorway. "Can we talk?" she asked. I let her in because I didn't have the energy to fight. She put the bag on the coffee table and sat down like she lived there. "I need you to understand my heart," she said. "I'm doing this out of love. You lost so much, I thought this would bring us closer." "By taking my baby's name?" I asked, my voice flat. "It's not taking," she said. "It's honoring, and honestly, if you're this upset, maybe therapy would help." The nerve. I felt my jaw lock. Megan, I said, don't name your kid Leela. Her eyes snapped up, and for a split second I saw something sharp in them, cold and irritated. I'm not changing it, she said. It's too late, people know, we've already told everyone. You can pick another name. Why should I? She shot back. You're not pregnant anymore. It felt like she'd slapped me. The words hit so hard my ears rang. She realized it the second it came out. Her face flickered, shock, guilt, annoyance, all mixed together. But she didn't apologize. She just said, I didn't mean it like that, in this soft, fake voice. I asked her to leave. She did, but not before saying, I hope you can be mature about the shower. I didn't answer. After she left, the apartment felt hollow. Andrew came home later, but we barely talked. We were both grieving in different ways, drifting in separate currents. And as the weeks passed, things only got worse. People in my family started avoiding the topic. My mom told me I should try to be supportive. My dad said, Megan didn't mean harm. My aunt pulled me aside at a barbecue and whispered, You'll have another baby someday, sweetie. They all made it sound like I was the problem. Like I was the reason everything felt wrong. But nothing compared to what I found out next. Something that made all the weirdness click into place. Something that explained why she wanted the name, why she wanted the due date, why she wanted the story. And once I knew the truth, there was no going back. I found out the truth by accident. It was late September, a little over a month before Megan's big baby shower. I had stopped by my parents' house in Chandler to drop off some things they'd asked for. I wasn't planning to stay. I barely saw my family at that point because everything felt awkward and sticky, like everyone was tiptoeing around Megan's beautiful tribute, while pretending I wasn't unraveling. My dad wasn't home yet, and my mom was in the backyard watering her plants, so I wandered into the living room to wait. That's when I saw my mom's laptop open on the coffee table. She must have been writing emails because the messaging app was pulled up. And there, at the top, was a notification bubble with part of a message preview. Megan, she'll never know you told me first. At first, I wasn't going to look. I'm not someone who snoops. But then another message popped up. Megan, and I'm telling you the timing couldn't have been more perfect. Perfect? My heart thudded. My hands started shaking. Before I could talk myself out of it, I clicked the chat. It wasn't with my dad. It was with Andrew, my Andrew, and the thread went back months. I felt the room tilt. I sank onto the couch, scrolling up with this slow, sinking dread spreading through my legs like cement. The top of the conversation started the night before I told my family I was pregnant. Megan had messaged Andrew asking if he was excited for tomorrow. He responded with some generic answer about nerves and happiness. Then she said, You know you can talk to me about anything, right? I'm always here for you. There were messages about how he was scared he wouldn't be a good dad, how stressed I'd been, how overwhelmed he felt. That alone hurt. I didn't even know he'd told her any of that. But the part that made my stomach twist was what followed. She said, I get it more than you think. I've been trying too. Trying, I scrolled. I just hope things line up, she'd written. If it happens for me, it'll be like everything was meant to be. My throat closed. It got worse. After my miscarriage, literally the day after, I found a new string of messages. Megan, I'm here for you. I know what this means to you both. I won't let her go through this alone. Andrew, thank you, she's shutting me out. Megan, she always spirals, just let me talk to her. She listens to me. She listens to me. I kept scrolling, my pulse pounding so hard my fingers shook. 2 weeks later, Megan messaged him. I found out today, I'm pregnant too. Andrew, are you serious? Megan, yes. And don't freak out, but the due date is November 7th. My due date. Andrew responded with, That's wow, I don't know what to say. Megan, it's a sign. I felt something inside me snap. But the final blow, the one that hollowed out my ribs, was a message from Megan, sent at 12:13 a.m. a month before the shower. I told her I picked the name Leela. She didn't take it well. Andrew. Yeah, she's still grieving. Megan, she needs to accept it. Your baby deserves the name too. Your baby. For a moment, I genuinely couldn't breathe. The air felt thick, unusable. I reread it over and over, thinking I misunderstood, but I didn't. Megan wasn't talking about her unborn child like she was talking to a brother-in-law. She was talking to Andrew like he was the father. And then I saw the message that confirmed everything. Don't panic, I won't tell unless you want me to. My hands went cold. My vision blurred. I heard a sound behind me, my mom coming back inside, and I slammed the laptop shut so fast it echoed. I left without saying a word. I walked out the front door, down the driveway, into my car, gripping the steering wheel with white knuckles. My entire body was shaking. I drove without remembering how I got home. When Andrew walked through the door that night, smiling like nothing was wrong, something inside me settled into place, hard, sharp, irreversible. Because now I finally understood. The name, the due date, the tribute, the obsession with the story. She wasn't copying me. She wasn't honoring me. She was replacing me. I didn't confront Andrew right away. People always assume that when you find out something like that, something so foul it makes your skin feel too tight, you scream, you throw things, you demand answers. But I didn't do any of that. I went quiet, not calm, not numb. Quiet the way a storm is quiet right before the funnel touches the ground. Andrew didn't even notice. He kissed my forehead, microwaved leftovers, and sat on the couch scrolling through his phone like he wasn't hiding a secret that could burn our entire life to the ground. That night, while he slept beside me, I lay awake staring at the ceiling. I kept replaying those messages, especially the ones where Megan talked to him like they shared a private world I wasn't invited into. I thought about how she acted so supportive after the miscarriage, like she was stepping into some kind of spotlight created by my pain. I thought about that baby shower invitation card she hand-delivered to my mailbox, written in her perky handwriting. Celebrating baby Leela, a name filled with love. I realized something important. Megan wasn't going to stop. This wasn't just about a name or a date. This wasn't about tribute. This was ownership. It was her version of printing out my grief and wearing it like a sash. And Andrew, I didn't know the full truth yet. I didn't know if he'd cheated, or if she'd tried to trap him, or if there was something else under the surface. But the messages alone showed disloyalty. Emotional intimacy he hid from me. Secrets he shared with her. Boundaries he let her cross again and again until she felt entitled to rewrite my story as her own. And now they were about to celebrate it, in public, with decorations and cupcakes and applause. No, absolutely not. I wasn't going to scream or fight or beg. I wasn't going to explode and look crazy while they played innocent. I was going to do something Megan would never expect. Something quiet, something sharp, something she wouldn't be able to shrug off or frame like she was the victim. I started planning. First, I requested the medical records from my miscarriage, specifically the ultrasound printouts, the ER intake notes, the discharge papers with the date and time, the form that listed my due date, the photo Andrew took of me holding the first positive test. All of it. It took 3 days to get everything together. Then I went through the box where I'd kept the small things I couldn't bear to throw out. The tiny purple beanie I'd bought at a craft fair, the bracelet Andrew had made me for Mother's Day, the card Megan wrote me after the ER visit. The card where she wrote, "Your baby will always be yours." I almost laughed when I reread that part. Next, I printed screenshots. Not everything. Not the ones where she hinted at the baby being Andrew's. Not yet. But enough to expose the way she'd pushed boundaries. The way she'd orchestrated the name theft. The way she'd planned the due date announcement like she was unveiling a damn art project. After that, I bought a gift box, not cutesy, not pastel. Simple, white, clean, like a keepsake box someone might use for something meaningful. Then I arranged everything inside in layers, the ultrasound photo on top, the due date form beneath it, the sympathy card, the positive test picture, and a printed copy of one message thread. Megan, I told her I picked the name Leela. She didn't take it well. Andrew, yeah, she's still grieving. Megan, she needs to accept it. Then I added one last thing, a blank card with only 6 words written in the center. This was never yours to take. When I closed the lid, I realized my hands had stopped shaking. The baby shower was in a week. I didn't know exactly what would happen when Megan opened that box, but I knew one thing clearly: she would never forget it. And I wasn't done yet. Because something in those messages still didn't make sense, something I couldn't shake, something darker. And it wasn't until 2 days before the shower that I learned the truth. The real truth. The part that changed everything. 2 days before the shower, I got the twist I didn't see coming. Not from Megan, not from Andrew, but from someone who had absolutely no reason to get involved. Her husband. Ryan. He showed up at my apartment out of nowhere. I was packing the gift box into a bag when I heard the knock. I opened the door expecting a delivery driver. Instead, Ryan stood there looking like he hadn't slept in weeks. His hair was messy, his shirt was wrinkled, and he smelled faintly like old coffee and stress. We'd never been close. He was one of those guys who floated in and out of rooms without leaving much of an impression. But that day, he looked carved open. "We need to talk," he said. I didn't invite him in. I just stepped aside because something in his voice made the air shift. He walked to the center of my living room, rubbed his hands over his face, and said, "I know you think you have the full story." "You don't," my stomach tightened. "Ryan, if this is about the baby name, it's not about the name," he cut in. "It's about the father." My blood went cold. He sat down heavily on the couch and stared at the floor. "I know about the messages. Megan doesn't know I saw them, but I did. She leaves her phone everywhere. She acts like she's untouchable." "Ryan," I whispered, "what are you saying?" He let out a laugh, quiet, bitter. "I'm saying the baby isn't mine." For a second, I honestly thought my ears were lying to me. "What?" "She told me we were trying," he said, fingers digging into his hair. "She told me we needed this baby to save our marriage. But she wasn't getting pregnant. And then suddenly, boom, she was. Easy, like magic, but she didn't tell me until after she told someone else first." "Who?" He looked up. "You know who?" My mouth went dry. "Andrew." He nodded once. "She told him the same day she told me, and the way she said it, like she was proud of something, I knew something was off." I stumbled back a step. "Are you saying they—" He didn't answer right away. He just stared at me with this hollow, deadened expression. "She told him first," he repeated. "She messaged him first, and I swear to God, the way she talks about him behind closed doors, the way she compares us, the way she frames him as more supportive and more emotionally available, she's obsessed with him. She has been for years." My pulse was thudding, my hands were numb. "But that's not the worst part," he said quietly. I felt something cold slide down my spine. "She's been planning this story since before your miscarriage." I froze. "What story?" I asked. He finally looked me dead in the eyes. "She wanted your pregnancy, your timeline, your narrative. She told one of her friends she hated that you got there first. She said she deserved to be the one with the first grandbaby. She said you didn't appreciate the attention the way she would." My stomach twisted so hard I thought I might throw up. "She said," he continued, voice cracking, "that if something happened, if anything happened to your baby, she would pick up the pieces and carry the story forward." Her words, not mine. I sat down slowly because my legs weren't working right anymore. "He wasn't done. She didn't cause your miscarriage," he said quickly. "Nothing like that, but she talked about it like it was fate, like it cleared the path for her. She said the universe redirected the blessing." I covered my mouth. He leaned forward, elbows on his knees. "She's not naming that baby Leela to honor you," he said. "She's naming her Leela because she thinks your story was supposed to be hers. She wants your grief, your sympathy, your identity. She wants people to look at her the way they were looking at you before everything went wrong." The room felt frozen. I couldn't feel my fingers. My heartbeat was a drum inside my skull. "And you need to know," he added quietly, "she's planning something for that shower. She wants a big moment, something dramatic, something emotional. She wants you there because she thinks it'll make her look compassionate." My entire body burned with the kind of cold clarity that only comes once in a lifetime. Ryan's voice dropped to a whisper. "She doesn't want to honor your baby, she wants to replace you." I didn't speak for a long time, but when I finally did, my voice was steady. "Good," I said. "Then she won't see what's coming." I didn't sleep the night after Ryan told me everything. I just sat on the floor of my living room with the lights off, my back against the couch, trying to make sense of the kind of person my sister actually was. Every time I thought I'd reached the bottom of it, another sickening layer peeled back. By sunrise, I wasn't even crying. I was just stunned, horrified in a way that didn't look like fear but felt like it had teeth. Because when I replayed every moment with Megan, every hug, every sympathetic text, every soft voice she used when she talked about healing, I realized something that made my stomach twist. Megan never cared about my baby, or my grief, or me. She cared about the story, not the real story, her version of it. The one where she was the brave, radiant sister stepping in to carry the light forward after tragedy. The version where people whispered about how strong she was, how compassionate, how special. I finally understood why she looked irritated when she saw me at her shower. Why she needed me there but not happy. Why she clung to that name like it was oxygen. Because to Megan, my tragedy wasn't a loss. It was leverage. She fed on sympathy. She always had small things, minor dramas, exaggerated illnesses. She'd cry on social media over stress and immediately post a selfie with perfect makeup. She loved when people told her she was resilient. She loved even more when she could position herself as the center of an emotional hurricane. My miscarriage had been the biggest storm our family had ever seen, and she wanted inside it. When she found out she was pregnant, it wasn't joy she felt. It was opportunity, a way to redirect the spotlight back onto herself. And when her due date matched mine, she didn't see it as coincidence. She saw it as a plot twist handed to her on a silver platter. But the worst part, the part that made my skin crawl, was how she talked about it. Not just to Ryan, not just to Andrew, but to her friends. Ryan had told me one more thing before he left that night, something he'd been hesitant to repeat. She said, he whispered, staring at my carpet like he couldn't look at me, that you weren't meant to be a mother first. That she'd always been the responsible one, the mature one, the one who deserved it. She called your pregnancy a misstep of the universe. I felt my throat close, but I didn't blink. And when you lost the baby, he continued, she said maybe it meant the timeline corrected itself. Corrected itself. Like my daughter dying was some scheduling issue the universe fixed for her convenience. I had to put my hand over my mouth because a sound rose in my chest, somewhere between a gasp and a growl. I'd never made that sound before in my life, but he wasn't done. She said she was the one born to be a mom first, that she could guide the family better, that she could show you how to do it right. And she said naming the baby Leela would help people get over what happened with you more quickly. I felt cold, everywhere, to my bones. Megan didn't just want my story. She wanted to erase mine and replace it with hers. She wanted to be the center of the grief, the healing, the redemption, all of it. She wanted people to remember her version of events, not mine. She wanted to become the main character of my trauma. And she was willing to twist the knife as many times as it took. Once Ryan left, I sat there shaking, not with confusion this time, but with clarity. She wasn't cruel by accident. She wasn't selfish out of ignorance. She wasn't confused or grieving or misguided. She was calculated. She was obsessed with attention, with control, with emotional power. She wanted people crying for her, praising her, admiring her strength. What happened to me wasn't a tragedy to her. It was a blueprint. The baby shower wasn't about a baby. It was Megan's big performance. But I wasn't going to let her take center stage. Not this time. Not ever again. And the box I made, it was only step one. When I walked into that baby shower with the white box in my hand, I wasn't the same person who'd spent months drowning in grief. I wasn't confused anymore. I wasn't scared. I wasn't even angry in the loud, fiery way people expect. I was focused. Everything after felt like it happened in slow motion. Megan holding the box with shaking hands, her eyes widening as she peeked inside. The room going still, every guest sensing the air change but not understanding why. She didn't pull anything out. She couldn't. She just stared down into that box like it had teeth. One of her friends leaned in, whispering, "What is it?" But Megan pressed the lid closed like she was hiding a bomb. That was when I stepped closer. "You don't want to show them?" I asked quietly. Her voice cracked. "Why would you bring this?" "Because it's yours," I said. "Everything in that box belongs to the person you've been trying to replace." She flinched like I'd hit her. A few gasps rippled through the crowd, and that was enough. Megan cared more about audience perception than anything else in the world, and her face cracking in front of them. That was the first real crack in her armor I'd ever seen. She grabbed my wrist, dragging me toward a side hallway near the restrooms. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" she hissed the second we were alone. "Returning what you stole," I said. My voice didn't even shake. "I didn't steal anything. You stole my daughter's name, you stole my due date, you stole my story." I held her gaze. "And you tried to steal my life." She opened her mouth, but nothing came out. Then her face twisted, anger, fear, humiliation battling under her skin. "You're ruining my shower," she said, almost whispering. "That was the plan." She looked stunned. And then I pulled out Phase 2. I reached into my bag and handed her a small envelope. Her hands shook as she opened it. Inside was a printed transcript of one of the message threads, the one where she told Andrew my baby's name was up for grabs and that I needed to accept it. She looked up at me like she just realized I wasn't playing her game anymore. That's not, she choked out. You don't understand. I understand everything, I said, including what Ryan told me. Her face drained of color. Ryan talked to you? Yes. And he told me exactly what you said about my miscarriage, and about my pregnancy, and about the timeline correcting itself. Her lips parted, but no sound came out. And, I added, he told me about your conversation with Andrew, the real one. She stumbled back like her legs were buckling. You need to stop, she whispered, voice trembling. No, I said. You do. I stepped closer, lowering my voice so only she could hear. You don't get to rewrite my trauma for applause. You don't get to build your identity on top of my loss. And you don't get to manipulate two men so you can play the victim at your own baby shower. She covered her mouth with both hands, horrified, not because she felt guilt, but because she realized her performance was collapsing. Then I said the part that finished it. I didn't tell anybody yet, not our parents, not Andrew, not your guests. But if you ever try to use my daughter's name again, or twist my story again, or paint yourself as some angel of healing, every single message gets sent to every single person you've ever tried to impress. Megan froze. You wouldn't, she whispered. Try me. She didn't answer. She couldn't. Her whole body had deflated like she didn't know how to function without the spotlight. I left her there, shaking. When I walked back into the main room, everyone stared at me. I didn't care. I put the gift box on the center table, turned toward the exit, and said loud enough for the room to hear. That gift was meant for Megan. No one else. And then I walked out, letting the silence collapse behind me. Two things happened afterward. One, Megan changed the baby's name. Quietly, privately, she told people she just felt called in a different direction. Not a soul believed her, but no one dared say it. Two, Andrew moved out. When I showed him the parts of the messages that involved him, he didn't even fight me. He cried, tried to apologize, but it was too late. The trust was gone. And honestly, losing him didn't hurt nearly as much as losing the illusion of who he was. Ryan filed for divorce a month later. And Megan? She's still trying to rebuild her reputation, but people talk. They notice patterns. They remember that shower. As for me, I made peace with something important. My daughter's name was never Megan's to carry. It was mine, and I don't have to share it with someone who sees grief as a costume. I kept the white box. Every piece inside it is mine. And the next time someone asks me what happened between me and Megan, I just smile and say, she finally learned not to touch what isn't hers.